Hey guys, Dr. Rob here today, and we are going to be talking about natural solutions for GERD, or what's known as gastroesophageal reflux disease, also called heartburn sometimes. So let's dive right in and talk about how to handle this stinker. So first off, when we look at the stomach, we see that's where we're digesting all of our foods, and our stomach is using really strong acid in order to do that, as well as enzymes and other substances like pepsin. Now, there's a little flap that exists here between the stomach and the esophagus called your lower esophageal sphincter. And the job of that sphincter, it's kind of like a flap, right? And what it does is it keeps all the stomach acid in the stomach while you're digesting your food. Now, here's the issue. When that sphincter becomes weakened or damaged, the contents of the stomach start to reflux up into the esophagus, causing esophageal ulcers or esophagitis. It could also lead to problems with your teeth, where your gums start to rot away. Basically, your teeth start to rot away. You could develop sinus problems, even maybe connected to different thyroid disorders. Essentially, we don't want the acids going up into the chest, mouth, or sinus or ear area. It could even be linked to ear infections. We want to keep that stuff in the stomach. So why does this thing get weakened? Well, one of the things is when there's increased pressure in the stomach. Let's think about this. Imagine blowing the stomach up with air. Think about that. If the stomach gets blown up with air, the pressure from that gas or from that air pushes against that little valve, eventually popping it open. And then what occurs is the acids start to reflux up into the esophagus. So what are things that are going to increase the amount of gas in the intestinal tract that's going to affect that valve? Well, the first thing is something called SIBO, which is known as small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. This is when there's too much of our bacteria that should be in our colon in our small intestines. And when that occurs, it's basically the bacteria is in the wrong place, right? So it should be in the colon, and there's too much of it in the small intestines. As a result of that, that increases gas and increases the pressure on that lower esophageal sphincter, and then pop. And I'm going to tell you what to do for these things here in a minute. The next one is a bacteria called H. pylori. Years ago, I was unfortunately infected by this. I had horrific heartburn. Every night before I went to bed, I'd drink like a gallon of water almost just to help calm everything down. It was really nasty. So H. pylori does the same or similar thing as SIBO. It's just a different organism. Parasites, yeast, candida overgrowth can be a big culprit here. The inability to manufacture enough stomach acid, actually low stomach acid, can lead to GERD. Why is that? Well, there's actually little receptors in that lower esophageal sphincter, and they receive acid. And when the pH is low enough in the stomach, that sphincter closes and stays closed. When there's not enough acid in the stomach, that sphincter actually starts to open up, and you start to reflux up whatever you have in your belly, which is going to be some acid. There is going to be acid there. It's just not acidic enough. So what can we do for some of these? How can we address these? Well, the first thing we got to do is we got to identify what we have. There's different stool studies that are available to do that. There's also a breath test, a very specific breath test where you swallow either glucose or what's called lactulose. And like lactulose is not really digestible by anything in your small intestines or in your stomach. So if there's an overgrowth of harmful bacteria in the small intestine, when you drink the lactulose, the bacteria actually digests that and produces a bunch of gas. And it's either going to be methane gas or it's going to be hydrogen gas. And that is detected from a breath test that we do. So it's very easy to do that test. We do it in our clinic. We have the kits there. You can order them through us. You can order them online through someone else. That doesn't matter. The point is, it's very easy to check for. The other thing that you can do is you can do what's called a low stomach acidity test, which is done very easily at home. And the way you do this is when you have heartburn, you take a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar in about 4 ounces of water, and you drink that down. If that improves your heartburn or reflux, then you know it's probably low stomach acid. If it worsens it or aggravates it, you may have a stomach ulcer, or you may have high stomach acid, or you might just not need any stomach acid, you need stomach acid. You might not need any additional acid from things like apple cider vinegar to help you digest. Now, If you do take apple cider vinegar or what's called betaine hydrochloride, it's another thing you can use for this low stomach acidity test, and you notice things are burning badly, you may want to follow it up with some Tums or some type of antacid to kind of suppress the extra acid you put in your stomach. Also, that is an indication that there may be an ulcer present, or there may be esophageal ulcer present or esophagitis. In those cases, you can use different support herbs and nutrients like glutamine, zinc L-carnosine, the glycerinated licorice root, marshmallow root, and slippery elm bark are all great tools that you could use to help kind of support the healing and repairing of any damage that's in the intestinal tract. So ultimately, we got to get to the cause, and then we got to do the right handling. Breath tests, stool tests, the at-home vinegar test or acid test are all great things to do to look at that. You could even do a test called the elastase 1, which looks at the amount or gives you an idea of the amount of digestive enzymes you're making. So if your elastase 1 is low, chances are your ability to manufacture enough digestive enzymes are low, and that could lead you in this horrible GERD or heartburn type of condition, eventually leading to esophagitis, ulcers, rotting of your teeth, sinus problems, problems with your inner ear, may possibly even vertigo if it aggravates the inner ear enough. It's just not a cool thing. Likely not vertigo, but still even thyroid problems. So you want to get this under control. You want to get this handled. If you want some help, please reach out to us. You know, we're here to help you guys, and anything we could do, that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this. So have an awesome one, and I will see you at my next, well, it's like a purple board session today, but I'll see you at the next session, and we'll go over some great information.